Hello guys. I wanted to do some language vlogs for the Rambler channel, and one of the biggest debates in the language acquisition community is whether bilingual education or immersion method education is best. Now, I'm of the belief that since every student isn't the same, what works for one student isn't going to work for another, and so perhaps immersion method teaching is best for some students, while bilingual education is best for some other students. But I would like to go over some of the pros and cons of immersion bilingual education, and after more research I will do a continuation of this video with other points that other people have made, and I'll go over my opinions over those. But as far as my personal opinion, I was very pro bilingual and a bit anti-immersion. Now I am not. I wouldn't call myself like anti-bilingual, because I'm not. I'm still pro-bilingual, but I'm not anti-immersion anymore. I see the benefits to immersion, and there are some downsides to bilingualism, so I'm a little in between. And so I would say, for me, I guess one of the reasons I'm pro-bilingual education is because languages are not simply translations of other languages. It's not simply like A is B, C is D, E is F. You don't just cross over into the next language. There are some vocabulary words which you can do that, but grammar, structure, nuance, idioms, phrases, context, culture, there's so many extra factors to language that make it a lot more complicated than just learning vocabulary, that I feel that those extra special things that are important and necessary need to be explained. And so I would say, immersion method, can you learn how to speak through immersion method? Yes, you can, but do you really have a deep understanding of what you're saying? Do you understand how it's coming across? Do you understand how it's being phrased? Do you understand just like that you're not literally saying what you think that you're actually saying? And I'm coming from my second language, learning Spanish in high school. I would say, immersion method. Let's say we're teaching the kids how to say I'm tired, for example, and I, say to the boys, diga estoy cansado, and I say to the girls, diga estoy cansada. And the first question the boys and the girls are gonna have is like, well, how come what I say is the different? How come the boys are saying estoy cansado? How come the girls are saying estoy cansada? And then the girls are saying estoy cansado, and they're like, well, why does it have to be cansada? Like, I don't understand. Because in English we don't have gendered emotions. Emotions are just emotions. I'm tired, you're tired, he's tired, she's tired, whatever. That needs to be explained. I need to explain to the girls, like, hey, you have to say something different because it's gendered. You have to say estoy cansada. And granted, someone may say, you just tell, the kids or whatever age, just tell them. This is how you say it. Girls say this, boys say that, cut and dry, that's it. No explanation, no excuses. But I think people should have an understanding of why they're saying what they're saying. I feel the same way about direct objects. When I'm explaining that te amo, here's the danger in doing immersion with no explanation. Okay? If I say te amo, and I say that means I love you, someone's going to hear that and they're going to want to do the drop down method. A is B, C is D, E is F, and they'll be like, okay, te amos, I love you, so te must mean I, and amo must mean love you, right? Because the thing about the English format of grammar, if I don't explain to them that the English format is not the same as the Spanish format, and that's the opposite, it's the reverse, that te is actually you, and that amo is I, and then love, and I'm saying I in quotations because you're not really saying I, you're just saying love, so it's really you love, with the I omitted, because you don't need it, because the endings let you know what it's corresponding to, then, that's a problem. And I'm just using examples for Spanish. I mean, what about Mandarin Chinese? If you are, telling someone how to say, I don't know, like, two apples. Okay, 两苹果. R is two. But for some grammatical reason, when you have two objects in Mandarin Chinese, you gotta say 两. And 苹果, if I say, 一个苹果, that's one apple, right? And then if I say 两苹果, the person will ask, well, wait, how come you said 苹果the first time and then 苹果the second time? I said one apple, two apples. In English, we change it. We add an S. They're gonna wonder, how come it's 苹果both times for apple? Because in Chinese, they don't have plurals. And if I'm just, teaching in Chinese, if I'm just, counting the apples in front of them and I'm saying, oh, 一个苹果, 两苹果, 三苹果, 四苹果, then that's gonna be a problem, because they're gonna be like, oh, okay, so, why is it all bilingual? How come it's not changing to plural when you don't need to? It's not necessary. Now, someone may argue, okay, especially if you're teaching little kids, they'll just accept it and not question it. But through doing language classes, most of the time, I feel like people of any age, 6 or above, maybe even 5, are going to question why they have to do, especially if it's different from their native tongue. If they're doing something different from their native tongue, or something is omitted, they're going to want to know, and they're going to ask the question, why is this different? How come this doesn't sound the same? How come this isn't here? Or I gotta do this, or I gotta do that. And that's, articles are omitted in Chinese. They're gonna want to know, how come I'm not saying the apple? How come I'm just saying apple? Why? Where's the go? What am I going to say to the English-speaking students when they say, where's the duh? Oh, we don't need it. Well, why not? But in immersion, I won't be saying any of that. I won't be explaining any of that. It'll just be in Mandarin Chinese. So I feel like that's a big problem with immersion, is that things are not explained. The differences, the compare and contrast are not explained between the languages, and I think that's a problem. And that's me personally. Some people say for speaking purposes, for just saying what needs to be said to be understood, you don't need to have a deep meaning of grammatical structure and stuff like that. And to be honest, I actually used to be anti-grammar. I mean, my language views have changed so much. I remember doing grammar in Spanish class when we were just starting. I was like, what do we need this for? We don't need this. We don't need this to speak. Now, let me get this straight. You don't need grammar to speak, but you do need it to speak correctly. And so, if a little girl says to a Spanish-speaking person, estoy cansado, Okay, big deal. You know, they don't know what the little girl means. They don't know she means tired. Maybe they won't even correct her and say, you know, estoy cansada. But here's the thing. Age matters in language. If you're an adult and you're learning another language, the expectations are going to be higher for you. People are not going to... Children get language forgiveness, and that's something that people do not explain often. Children have language forgiveness. Children can make linguistic mistakes, and that's okay. When adults make linguistic mistakes, they're considered dumb, stupid, and uneducated. And if you're like learning English, for example, to get a job, to work, to communicate with colleagues and superiors, then you definitely need to make sure that your grammar is in order. And I feel that you need, you know, bilingual education to explain some of the, you know, nuances and stuff. The grammatical order differences, things like that. What else? Now, it is true there are Spanish-speaking children who do not know Spanish grammar. There's Latino kids that come into Spanish class and they may not even speak Spanish, but like understand it because their family speaks it, and like they understand it, they're hearing it, but they don't speak it, they can't read it, they can't write it. And so bilingual education would really serve no purpose for that kind of student. They would need what we call dual language learning, and dual language learning, which I'm very pro dual language as well. Dual language teaches both the native language and the language that will be acquired. And you know, I think dual language is better than bilingual for that reason, because it serves both purposes. You're learning both, and I say that dual language learning is also better than bilingual for English speakers as well, because guess what? A lot of English speakers do not know English grammar. When I was in Spanish class and we were going over direct objects and pronouns and subjunctive tense and verb conjugations, all that stuff, I didn't know what they were talking about, and they were saying this in English because, hey, we don't, for some reason, really emphasize English grammar in schools, and that's why our writing is horrible. So dual language learning would have been very beneficial in that instance, because I would have been learning English grammar along with the Spanish grammar and be like, oh, okay, this is what a direct object is in my language, and now I'm learning this is what a direct object is in the language I'm acquiring. I think that immersion is a sink or swim situation, and I hear people say that bilingual education is a crutch and that it slows students down. Listen, I would rather a student learn slower and better and right than to have, like, immersion. It's so much at once, like you. I don't want to say it's having a language shoved down your throat, but it's having the language doused, upon yourself, and just like this whole bucket of water. Like, sometimes you throw the baby in the pool to, sink or swim, and you say the baby will naturally learn how to swim. I mean, some of them will, and some of them will die. And I don't feel like immersion is appropriate if the person does not have the opportunity to have real-life conversations with people that speak the language that are native speakers. If I'm going to Spanish class for 1 hour or 45 minutes in the United States, and that Spanish class is the only time that I'm going to have exposure to Spanish, and I'm not going to have any interactions with any Spanish-speaking people at all to use it, then what good does it do me? Now, the thing is, You could argue, hey, we have the internet. People have no excuse for saying that they have no opportunities to interact with Spanish speakers. You can interact with Spanish speakers over the internet. You can do chats, a video, YouTube, blogs, apps, and Skype. But I still say that, face-to-face interaction, being able to watch the emotions and the body language and the cultural gestures really is what brings the whole language to life. And you start to care about a person and care about their feelings and care about, their emotions, and it just makes it deeper. It makes the whole experience enriching when you care about another human being who's speaking a different language, and you have a desire to want to communicate with them, will motivate you to learn the language fully. And so, the difference between me and the other students in the Spanish class is that, yes, I learned it in high school like other people, but I didn't lose it because guess what I did when I went home? I watched telenovelas for like an hour. A whole hour. So I'm reinforcing everything. And even though I would get headaches, I get headaches. I didn't, understand anything but hola, gracias, and adios. I kept watching and watching and watching, and, I would look at the emotions, like, somebody grits their teeth and they're mad, they say, te odio. Maybe I don't know what te odio means, but I know it's something negative, and that's the first thing you're gonna get. Just learning like a baby, you will watch people react and act, and, telenovelas are pretty good, I think, for learning Spanish, because they're very emotional. They're over-dramatic and over-emotional, and so you'll get like an emotional attachment to those scenes. You'll watch, be like shocked, like, oh, she just threw a vase and said, desgraciado. Desgraciado is like a bad word or something really negative. You may not know exactly what it means, but you're getting a contextual reference. I would go to a Spanish-speaking church that had bilingual services, so I hear the sermons in English and Spanish, the prayers in English and Spanish, the songs that I sang in the choir in English and Spanish, just going back and forth, learning Dios is God, Señor is Lord, alabanza, worship, oro, pray. Well, that's also gold, but oro is I pray. Orar is to pray. So, anyway, I digress. And so, I'm participating in an event that's emotional. It's not class. You gotta get out the classroom. Okay, you gotta go to some cultural events. You need to create experiences where you're feeling something in the language. And even if you feel language anxiety, even if you're scared, I remember going, this was a Pentecostal church. It's really charismatic, it's like really hype. People are passing out and stuff. And I remember going to like a non-bilingual church that was completely Spanish, and some of the people there did not know that I was not Latina, and I came up to the altar and they're praying for me in Spanish, like, really loudly and fervorously, and, I'm hearing, Santo Dios! I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but it's just, really scary when you come up to a place you don't know the language, and someone's screaming at you, like, Santo Dios! And, I will never forget those moments. I will never forget what Santo Dios means, holy God, because, I have, a meaningful and kind of terrifying experience related to that word, and now that word has meaning. If a teacher just told me in the class, oh, Santo Dios means holy God, I wouldn't have any attachment or memory, tangible memory to that word. And that's what gives words meaning, is experiences. So I really encourage, if you're learning Spanish, you don't necessarily have to go to a Pentecostal church like I did, but go somewhere to cultural events. Christmas is coming up. Go to a Noche Buena, Feliz Navidad, something, Three Kings Day, something, parade or something, where you're gonna experience something in the language, because it'll make it more meaningful. I know I definitely diverted from the debate at hand, but there will be plenty more videos, part 2, part 3, part 4, about my opinions about what is best, bilingual, dual, or immersion method teaching. And I know over time, my opinions will change about these the more experience I have teaching and learning in these different methods. But again, I would say there really is no overall best way of teaching any student. All students are different, and all students learn differently, and so I think, dual, immersion, and bilingual, they'll work best for different people. But they all come with their pros and cons, and I would just like to keep on discussing those pros and cons. And if you have any input or opinions you'd like to add below, please do. If you have any questions for me about language stuff, leave in the comments below. And buenas noches, have a great day, and I hope my videos are helpful to the language learning community.